Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who rule well. Peace and salutations to the elect. My name is Aina. The title of this video is Extensive Losses for the Zionist Regime. Right, and another title I wanted to title it was Israel Will Not Stand for This. All right. We have this news article here. It says extensive losses of the Zionist regime in the 12-day war with Iran. Now, so this is, new information because this is something that they have denied and hid, regarding the impact of what Iran really did to them in the war. It says while the Zionist regime had basically denied any significant casualties and losses by Iran before the war with Iran stopped, and has strongly denied all of them. After a few days, reports indicate that it has faced human casualties and extensive military and material losses. All right, Israel will not stand for this. Israel needs America. This is Jeremiah 50:45. It says, therefore, hear ye the counsel of the Lord Yahweh, that he have taken against Babylon and his purposes that he have proposed against the land of the Chaldeans. It says, surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. Right? It's prophesied throughout all the scriptures that America, Babylon the Great, will be destroyed. Right? And it's prophesied here that the least of the flock will draw out Babylon the Great to be destroyed. And we are seeing that unfold now. Right? We're seeing that Israel is struggling with their multi-front war. They even have they're trying to have peace between Hezbollah, right, Lebanon, right, and they got a lot going on. The Palestinian script with the Gaza, right, and Iran, and they in the news now they don't want Iran to have a nuke, and Iran is back, in the same place that they just bombed, rebuilding, because it wasn't badly damaged anyway, because that's what people are saying. The only person that said it was completely destroyed was Donald Trump. Everybody else was saying, they don't know. They had, all these people so-called on the ground, all this secret reconnaissance and all of that to do this mission, but now they know nothing, right? So that's all we have. We have Donald Trump saying, that it was destroyed, and everybody else saying not even close. It's set back a little bit, at least, maybe a month. So, and they're back now. Satellite images show them in there doing something. Okay. So this is the BBE for Jeremiah 15:45. It says, so give ear to the decision. So give ear to the decision of the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, which he has made against Babylon and his purposes designed against the land of the Chaldeans. It says, truly, they will be pulled away by the smallest of the flock. Truly, he will make their he will make waste their fields with them. Right. So the smallest of the flock is talking about the 1948ers, the data below. And we can see that happen in real time, how recently, Israel has called for America to help them in their war. And that's not going to stop. It's going to continue until they're completely desolate, as the scriptures say here. And Babylon the Great will be destroyed, and also Israel. So they're intertwined. And I'm reading this article, but ultimately it's crazy. Ezekiel 35:1, it says, moreover, the word of the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushai came unto me, saying, son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it, and say unto it, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. Right, it's talking about America. All right. It says, I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord Yahweh, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, and the time that their iniquity had an end. Right, and we're up at that point now. Our punishment is over, and pretty much, and even now, America is still persists, and trying to destroy the Israelites. It says, therefore, as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashar Shai, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. So, pretty much, they always have perpetual hatred for us, trying to attack us, and shed our blood. So the Most High Yahweh is going to shed their blood because that's the controversy of Zion. Let me grab that. This is Isaiah 34:8. I'll grab it real quick. It says Yahweh's wrath against the nations, right? So it says, for it is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompense. So, payback, righteous payback, right? It says for the controversy of Zion, right? So, because of what these nations did to us, the Most High Yahweh is now visiting this place, and giving a righteous judgment, you know, to these heathen, right? And more so, America, Esau, right? It says, Ezekiel 35:7, thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from it, and cut off from him that passeth out, and him that returneth. And I will fill his mountains with his slain men, in thy hills, and in thy valleys, and in all thy rivers shall they fall that are slain with the sword. I will make thee perpetual desolations, and thy city shall not return, and you shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh Bashar Shai. Right. Going into the book of Obadiah, you know, uh, they say they shall be rebuilt, but the Most High Yahweh shall throw down. Right. And that's exactly what they did. They came back and they built up America, right? Because Edom has always been here, right? And now, he's back. And they built up America through the, work of the slaves, which are Israelites, right? And so the Most High Yahweh now is going to, make it desolate. It says, because thou hast said, these two nations and these two countries shall be mine, and we will possess it, whereas the Lord Yahweh was there. So, Esau even, overtook us, took our land, even though the Lord was with us. It says, therefore, as I live, said the Lord Yahweh, Bashar Shai, I will even do according to thine anger, and, and according to thine envy, which thou hast used out of thy hatred against them. And I will make myself known among them when I have judged thee. Right. So, that's why the name of the Lord is being proclaimed here in these last days. Right. And pursuant to Ezekiel 37, we're joining back to him. We understand that the Lord is doing this thing, right, through prophecy, bringing down Esau, Edom, and ultimately the full destruction, that shall come. It says, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord Yahweh, Bashar Shai, and that I have heard all thy blasphemies which thou hast spoken against the mountains of Israel, saying, they are laid desolate, they are giving us to consume. See, so that's exactly what they did, right? Edom, because these JWOs are Edomites also, right? But they're of the house of the Amalekites, right? It says they are laid desolate, they are given to us to consume. It says, thus with your mouth ye have boasted against me, and have multiplied your words against me. I have heard them. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashar Shai, when the whole earth rejoices, I will make thee desolate. Basically it's saying the world is going to be happy, when Esau, is desolate and God power. And the precept, it says, when the wicked are in authority, people mourn, but when the righteous bear rule, the people rejoice. Okay, it says, as thou didst rejoice at the inheritance of the house of Israel, because it was desolate, so will I do unto thee. Thou shalt be desolate, O Mount Seir, and all Idumea, even all of it. And they shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh Bashar Shai. All right, so Mount Seir, which is talking about America, right? All Edom will be destroyed. And we have now the beginning stages of the two-sided coin, America and Israel, right? Israel is getting it badly, and like I said, Israel will not stand for this. Okay, so it says, Tehran, in a situation where nearly a week has passed since the ceasefire between Iran and the Zionist regime, Various and interesting information and statistics about the human casualties in the military and material damages of this regime are gradually being published in the media inside Israel as well as in the regional and global media. It says while the Zionist regime had denied any significant casualties and damages from the Iran before the ceasefire with Iran was established and has strongly denied all of them, after the ceasefire with Iran, it has suddenly been faced with the publication of numerous news reports about human casualties and extensive military and material damages. And I'm not surprised because those people are rioting in the streets. They're protesting about stopping the war and whatnot. So the people are not happy with what's going on, even though Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to suppress uh, all of this damage. It says, now we want to discuss and examine the human casualties and material and military damages of the Zionist regime. In that case, we must first of all look at the statistics and information published by Hebrew sources. According to the latest information published during the 12-day war between Iran and Israel, dozens of people were killed and hundreds were injured. This is despite the fact that, due to severe censorship in the occupied Palestinian territories, the number of human casualties and material damages is likely much higher than this figure. True. Which I'll say is true because they're suppressing the information. We're lucky that we even got this article right? It says, on the other hand, Iran's missile and drone attacks on the Zionist regime over 12 days have caused more than 31,000 buildings and over 4,000 vehicles to be severely damaged or destroyed. Now, think about that. You got 4,000 vehicles, that's people vehicles. Now they don't have no vehicles. You probably don't got the money to get a new vehicle. And also 31,000 buildings. So now you just got more people to go and protest in the streets, so we got nothing else to do because they can't go back to these 31,000 buildings that are destroyed. So basically, it's starting to look like the Palestinian script. Like I've seen it. This compared to the Gaza script, this is okay. The Gaza script, it's completely flat. It looked like this part down here, right? So this damage, right? So this damage indicates that the Iranian missiles in 22 waves that target the occupied Palestinian territories cause enormous and irreparable damage to the Zionist enemy. Okay, and yeah, so that Iron Dome thing is not working. Pursuant to Ezekiel 38, Russia is also going to look at this. Everyone's looking at this, right? Because war is being prepared. The damage is being assessed. The strength of each enemy, is being assessed too. I would think so. The Most High Yahweh mustered the host of the battle. So this is what's happening. So it's known that this Iron Dome thing don't work. All right. So it says, accordingly, the Zionist newspaper Globes wrote in its special report on the war between Iran and the Zionist regime that more than 4,000 people requested compensation following these attacks. In addition, as reported, because even the people, they can't leave. People trying to leave, they can't. It says, in addition, as reported by the Israeli media, more than 18,000 Zionists were displaced. This indicates that very large and significant volume of damage the Zionist regime suffered from Iran. Yeah, so, hey, let me grab that. Let me grab it. It's group 4 and 32. I also want to grab, let me grab this. Oh, well, all right, so we're gonna grab this 32 if I can. It says Baruch chapter 4 and 31. I'm gonna start 31, and now this is going into the land of Israel also, right? Mourning, because those devils are there. and the Israelites, the true Israelites, being carried away. All right, but then if you get down here to 30, it says, verse 4 and 30, take a good heart, O Jerusalem, for he that gave thee that name will comfort thee. It says, miserable are they that afflicted thee, and rejoice at thy fall. Miserable are the cities which thy children serve. Miserable is she that received thy sons. It says, for as she rejoiced at thy ruin and was glad at thy fall, so shall she be grieved for her own desolation. So it's talking about ultimately America, right, and the Edomites, and also along with that, where the Edomites are, and that's including the land of Israel. That's why America and Israel will be desolate, destroyed together. But Israel, our land, will be, built back up. The scriptures say, Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So we have those heathen there, bastard dwelling in Ashdod, right? It says, for I will take away the rejoicing of her great multitude, and her pride shall be turned into mourning. And is that, I would think they're mourning over here with all of this, these 18,000 people displaced, people recording, requesting compensation. This is Second Ezra 15. Started We just started 14. It's Second Ezra 15 and 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh. One people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in the power. And that's kind of going to what I was mentioning earlier too. You have protests, people doing these things in Israel, and with all this damage, it could get worse. People are requesting compensation. They got nowhere to go. It's only a matter of time. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. It says, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. So, there you go. Look at it. And that's just one picture, one little spot. All right. What was over here? Oh, reading this. Okay. It says, of course, this was not the whole story, and Iranian missile attacks on military centers and bases, including sensitive centers and refineries, have caused very heavy damage to the military and energy infrastructure of the Zionist regime. They need America. They need America, all right? The Iran done messed them up pretty bad. It says, hey, you get in a fight. Say you get jumped or something, you gonna go back and get your boys. You gonna come back. It says among these attacks, we can mention the targeting of the Bazan refinery in the Wisman Institute, which caused damage amounting to several $billions. Okay, so all the tax money that America's been paying to Israel, they're gonna need more of that. It says another important issue is the report of the Lebanese newspaper, which adds in this regard that Hebrew media have acknowledged in initial reports that the Iranian attacks have caused direct damage of more than $6 billion. That's a lot of money. So that means they was hitting actual targets, destroying a whole bunch of stuff. It said, meanwhile, new economic reports in occupied territories have estimated that the direct cost of the war with Iran at more than $12 billion. Hey, so they're going to need to rebuild Gaza and Israel at this point. It says, on the other hand, the Israeli army radio has announced that Iranian missiles have caused irreparable damage to several areas deep inside Israel. Irreparable. They can't even fix that. It says, deep inside Israel and destroyed hundreds of homes. Some of the sensitive and vital positions of the Zionist regime in Rehovot have also been severely damaged. It said, meanwhile, reports indicate that the Zionist regime has spent about 725 million per day on the war with Iran. Because, those missiles firing them off, the Iron Dome, it says, of which 593 million was spent on military attacks and 132 million on defense measures and military mobilization. They got to move those Iron Domes to certain locations. So in addition, the Zionist regime budget deficit this year has reached more than 6.2 GDP, right, which is defense spending, says, and is expected to increase to more than 15%, which is pretty crazy. I've never seen numbers like that if the conflict continues. Well, I don't know how much America spends But usually, in the news recently, they always have low numbers like this. Anyway, it says finally, the Zionist regime attack on Iranian soil, including attack on even prison, civilians areas, and hospitals, are considered war crimes and have provoked widespread international criticism against the regime. And so shameful feeling on these levels, for their war crimes. That's why they're being destroyed now. The Lord is mustering the host of the battle. He's stirring up the nations. It says this will lead to a long-term decrease in international support, especially from the regime's Western allies. You know, Maybe so. And pretty much Iran has been saying 900 killed or whatnot, but it seems like Israel is completely through out there. So this is Ezekiel 36, 1 NLT. It says, Son of man, prophesy to Israel's mountains. Give them this message, O mountains of Israel. Hear the word of the Lord Yahweh. This is what the sovereign Lord says. Your enemies have taunted you, saying, Aha, now the ancient heights belong to us. So they took the land, right? Which is Israel, and now it's being destroyed. And that's good because it's going to be destroyed anyway. We got to rebuild that place. They got too much abomination going on over there. All right. Tunnels, all that stuff got to be cleaned out. Therefore, Son of Man, give the mountains of Israel this message from the sovereign Lord Yahweh, Bashin Awashai. Your enemies have attacked you from all directions, making you property of many nations and the object of much mocking and slander. Therefore, O mountains of Israel, hear the word of the sovereign Lord Yahweh. He speaks to the hills and mountains, ravines and valleys, and to ruin, waste, and long deserted cities that have been destroyed and mocked by the surrounding nations. He said, This is what the sovereign Lord Yahweh says. My jealous anger burns against these nations, especially Edom, because they have shown utter contempt for me by gleefully taking my land for themselves as plunder. So you got the 1948ers over there went in there, made Israel a state, took it up, did all the stuff they wanted to do to it. All right. It says, Therefore prophesy to the hills, the mountains, the ravines, and valleys of Israel. This is what the sovereign Lord Yahweh says. I am furious that you have suffered shame before the surrounding nations. So the Most High don't want these people there, but they there. They took the land. Well, it says, therefore, he's going to get rid of them. Hey, the scriptures must be fulfilled. They're going to be there for a little bit, because that was our punishment too. Just to even sit here and think that they right now in our land, I don't know, wiggling around, It says, therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord Yahweh says. I have taken a solemn oath that these nations will soon have their own shame to endure. Right? That's the point. Then their shame is here. Pretty much the end. The end is manifest. Scripture says Esau is the end of the road, and Jacob is the beginning by that following. Right? We understand that the wicked is ruling. That's America, right? And Israel is going to draw America to his war and be destroyed because obviously they need help. All right. So just going to news with that, Lord willing, you edify the lesson. I'll say shalom to the elect, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom.